Los Angeles. Next, Rethinking Heroes.
You've heard of Moms for Liberty, the group behind book banning, hammering the LGBT community in school systems. So what's next for their leadership after the head mom was caught in lesbian three-ways and the husband for allegedly raping one of his tricks? True crime fun is next.
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison.
I've spent a decade taking a bite out of conspiracy theories, unraveling urban legends, and grappling with worldwide top secret issues.
I've even racked up some of their awards.
Wow, I mean, first of all, what a question.
Journalism is about telling the truth, all while ferreting out the bottom line.
I'm a Harrison Hellraiser.
Uh-oh, with me, Cary Harrison, as your guide.
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison.
And it is Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison. Glad to be here. As always, don't forget, you can catch this as a video by simply going to rethinkingheroes.com and checking out our real-time video player. There, you're going to get links to all the different social media platforms, too. And now, when you arrive in a car, you don't have to turn off the radio, get out of the car, and miss the show. You can keep on watching Rethinking Heroes on video, on your phone, on your tablet. Walk with a tablet, especially in the middle of traffic. It's very exciting. I do it all the time, and it's a $140 ticket. You can get that video at rethinkingheroes.com. Well, picture this. Unsettling piano music sets the scene, fading into the backdrop of Trump rallies and the January 6th insurrection. The far right's wave of violent chaos and bigotry isn't just on the streets. It's sweeping into your schools. Your schools. Let's cut to the shoplifting Proud Boys who are symbolizing this dangerous shift. Now, these aren't the gay dance group from the 1970s. You can Google it and they'll come up. They were called the Proud Boys too. These are the group for whom a full set of teeth seem to be optional. Have you heard of the School Sanity Project? And you thought everyone in Florida was a book banning, climate change denying, free speech hating, and diversity, equity, and inclusion killing mountebank with hairy knuckles. Well, many still may be vassals to their Lord and Savior, Ronald DeSantis. But the School Sanity Project is the rebuttal to that. They've launched ads targeting extremist ties within the Florida School Board. Now, that just seems anathema to common sense. Extremist ties within a school board? Where, by the way, in that school board, in the entire state of Florida, in all the public schools, it is illegal to discuss climate change. Yet just south in Miami, Florida, the National Hurricane Center is considering creating a Category 6 hurricane, which we all know after 5, everyone is dead anyway. But climate change, Category 6 hurricane. But don't say those two words, climate change, in a Florida public school, or Ronald DeSantis and his minions and these school board people will come after you. However, these school board people are, well, now exposed. There are the Moms for Liberty, the book banning, Berlin 1933 flavored, well-funded right-wing cabal posing as a group of mothers in, support hose and clod hopping along in sensible shoes. But their high priestess, Bridget Ziegler, is more of a libertine mom who enjoys three-ways with other women while stripping away any discussion of LGBT rights or history from the third largest state in North America. And this is why perhaps Florida looks like a flaccid phallus. Better for the brand of purity and chastity, right? But flip the state right side up and you get the real story of the seedy backside of DeSantis world. The Moms for Liberty husband is facing rape charges from a woman that he and his wife both shared, while doubtless bug-eyed, drooling and growling for her rapt attention. Poor Bridget Ziegler, those Trump Bible clutching, holding Trump Bibles, by the way, clutching those aficionados of his, now imagining her with a tampon string dangling from her nostril while her husband burps in his lazy boy, rubbing Vapo Rub on a torn genital. This is the reality of these people. these people who think like this. My friends simply have legitimate consensual sex, and there's generally no more discussion afterward. But zealots and hucksters always have to steal the sex, or force it, because on their own, they simply can't have what others would intuitively find attractive and legitimate, like, a decent personality, or using a bar of soap, or having any integrity. With us is Morris Cunningham, Dr. Morris Cunningham, author of Dark Money and Politics of School Privatization. He's also an expert on right-wing parents' rights groups, and I say that in quotation marks. He's retired from the University of Massachusetts at Boston as an associate professor of political science, but continues to research and write about dark money. His commentaries have appeared in the Portland Press Herald, Detroit Free Press, LA Progressive, Alternet, Counterpunch, New Hampshire Bulletin, the Idaho Education News Network for Public Education, the Tampa Bay Times, just above Sarasota, where Moms for Liberty are superstars, not anymore, and the Progressive. Morris Cunningham, welcome to Rethinking Heroes.
Thanks for having me with you, Cary.
And thank you for allowing me to enjoy my satirical moment in the beginning, but I'm just done with fundamentalists and lunatics who are not legitimate. I can understand a hispidulous, knuckle-walking, just a Neanderthal, a hominid that may not know any better, but the ones that do know better and taking cash on the side and doing bad things to others, that's where I draw the line.
Well, what they took advantage of was COVID, where, children were home, it was creating stress and so forth, and they sort of exploited that issue. But really, Moms for Liberty comes out of the far right infrastructure that has been put in place for the last 40 years, with groups like the Heritage Foundation and the Leadership Institute, really sort of supervising Moms for Liberty and bringing them along. And so you have this burst of Moms for Liberty on the scene where it seems like they came out of nowhere. They didn't come out of nowhere. They're really a creation of far-right institutions that exist to undermine every form of the public good, especially public schools.
I love branding, linguistics, language. So do you. If you called them Mothers for Liberty, it would have an entirely different tone, altogether 100%. But Moms for Liberty, well, you see this kind of delicate, impressionable, overworking, too much time in the kitchen, probably has a job, and she's a mom for liberty. She's been quashed by maybe an overbearing husband. All of this comes in just the name Moms for Liberty. You call it Mothers for Liberty, they may be more mature, more maternal, probably more educated, so it's not going to work. I mean, all of this stuff is thought out by think tanks, and this is what you bring to the fore here, Morris Cunningham. You tell us and explain to us how all this came to be. Otherwise, we just simply think it's well-meaning ladies who are drinking tea.
Yeah, you can't accept them at face value at all. That's exactly right. I like to say, I mentioned that Leadership Institute, a far-right institution of over 40 years, has a large role. So I like to say that the most important mom in Moms for Liberty is actually an 82-year-old guy who has been around right-wing politics so long. He was a Goldwater delegate in 1964.
Wow.
His name is Morton Blackwell. He is the founder of Leadership Institute. He is a co-founder of the right-wing secretive umbrella group called Council for National Policy, and he's really the key. He and the Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank, are really the keys to Moms for Liberty. They're behind it.
You talk to 90% of mothers, they actually are ready for this one. They love their children. I know it's crazy. They love their children. The last thing they want to do is go after diversity, equality, and inclusion, because guess what we've been talking about for the last 10, 15 years on all media? Bullying. In other words, if you have a child, that child is getting bullied for being diverse in some way, for being perceived unequal in some way, or for being not included by others. And so there isn't a mother in the world saying, I need my son, I need that kicked out of him, that son of a bitch. Maybe some weird drunken fathers might think that's a good idea to butch him up a little bit. Yeah. And then the other one is, what mother is obsessed with critical race theory? Like she's washing dishes. Yeah. Seriously, right?
Yeah. No, the Moms for Liberty have made courageous stands against empathy and altruism and kindness. They really have. It's almost absurd, the level of things they do. And I tell you, following them day to day, I'm still surprised at the level of cruelty they extend toward any child who is not white straight parents. It's really appalling. They're cruel is the problem.
Morris Cunningham, how has the recent negative press about Moms for Liberty's deranged sexual peccadillos tarnished their beautiful public image?
In a way, it's come to define them. The Bridget Ziegler case, Bridget was a co-founder. She resigned from the board very early on, but she stayed involved all the way through, right through last year's national summit. She went to work for Morton Blackwell at the Leadership Institute, by the way. So she was very closely tied in. And in a lot of ways, it's come to define the hypocrisy of Moms for Liberty. You can't, in the Florida schools, obviously in Sarasota in particular, the sex scandal was big news, but because of laws that Bridget Ziegler helped to pass, you can't discuss the stories about the Zieglers, the news stories about the Zieglers. You can't discuss them in public schools. Teachers have to say, well, go Google that. I can't talk about it. Yeah. Because it involves bisexual behavior.
Well, not only sexual, but Bridget Ziegler was in a three-way that included another woman, and therefore it would be woman-on-woman sex, therefore violating the Governor DeSantis Don't Say Gay bill. So what a great way to buttress yourself from any kind of discussions, not knowing in advance that you would ever be the subject of that discussion, but you've made sure it can't happen anyway. This is what we would call censorship in a first world country.
Isn't it amazing? And there's one gay member of the Sarasota County School Board where Bridget, until fairly recently, was chair of the board. And she has promoted opportunities for the public to attack him at public meetings and so forth. It's really just appalling behavior. And all the time here she is knowing that she's been engaged in exactly the same kind of conduct. Who cares about the conduct? Sex between consenting adults, do what you want, but don't then traumatize LGBTQ children under your care in the school department. It's wrong.
Well, it's only wrong, but 36% of suicides in teens are LGBTQ plus children who have been told they're vile, disgusting, subhuman creatures. They believe it because they're children. Children are laptops. They get the software installed on them and they run that as their operating system. And we are exterminating the children, whom at the same time we're told are the most valuable resource we have in America by our politicians. So either you get many of these straight white Christian lunatics out there shooting them up in a schoolyard, or we just exterminate them through words. So either we like them or we don't like them, but then that goes into a second, much more philosophical, sociological discussion. And we know this is politics. This is a chess game. It's tennis. It's basketball, just played out in a different way with human beings as those pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Among the many sins of a Moms for Liberty is these attacks on innocent teenagers, LGBTQ children, and traumatizing them. I'll give you a really awful example. On 60 Minutes recently, Scott Pelley interviewed Tina Descovich and Tiffany Justice, who are the other two co-founders, and he asked them, he said, "You've called people groomers. What do you mean by that?" And they couldn't answer. They have no answer for it. They stumbled around and fumbled around, and they really had no answer for him. It was really humiliating. And guess what? Very soon after, Tiffany Justice was back. After the tragic suicide of Next Benedict in Oklahoma, Tiffany was back to attacking the Trevor Project, which works with teens, vulnerable teens, LGBTQ teens, to protect them and try and make sure they're healthy and make sure they're loved. She attacked the Trevor Project as groomers. It almost defies any sort of decency at all. In fact, it does. It's really appalling.
Yeah, I would, love to do a plebiscite amongst the 380 million Americans to say how much, 1 out of 10, 10 being absolutely, 1 being not at all, do you want your son nailed up against a wooden fence somewhere in, say, Wyoming, and just nailed there and left to rot, bleed to death, starve, suffocate, and then be picked apart picked apart by birds, I think most parents would say, I don't think so. And that's what these people are advocating for others for their pure political pleasure. Let me just reintroduce you. We're talking right now to Morris Cunningham, Dr. Morris Cunningham, author of Dark Money and the Politics of School Privatization. He's an expert on right-wing parents' rights groups and retired from the University of Massachusetts at Boston as an associate professor of political science, continuing to research and write about dark money. His commentaries have appeared in the Detroit Free Press, the LA Progressive, Alternate, Counterpunch, Tampa Bay Times, and the Progressive, among many, many others. Let's take a look right now, Morris Cunningham, at another issue. In what ways has Moms for Liberty tried to address the designation as an extremist group? They've been designated as an extremist group now, Moms for Liberty, by the famous Southern Poverty Law Center. They're the ones that designate things like the Ku Klux Klan and the neo-Nazis as extremist groups.
Yeah, they've attacked the SPLC in return. They haven't really laid a hand on SPLC, but they have attacked them. But it's interesting where the attacks come from as well, because they get support from the Heritage Foundation, from other right-wing organizations that in their turn attack SPLC, trying to come. So it just reinforces for me the position of Moms for Liberty is within this right-wing infrastructure that is, well-funded, tremendously well-funded, staffed, trained, and so forth, but they are getting a lot of the support from them. They're not really laying a glove on SPLC, nor are they laying a glove on PEN America, which has called out their book banning, or the Human Rights Campaign, which has called out Moms for Liberty for attacking legislation, pro-LGBTQ plus legislation in the states. So, but it's an indication of the size of this battle that we all need to be fighting in, because they are formidable because of the support that they have.
This topic always just drives me crazy, and I have to just be so disciplined while I talk about it, because it just puts me in such a rage. It's so insane. And if you picked any other group and went after them, it would be outrageous. But there's some things you can do. You kill a bunch of black people, get killed, and maybe it's not even in the news, but a white girl goes missing and it's 10 days, lead story on CNN. And we know this, and then we forget about it because we get used to it. I wonder, Morris Cunningham, how so many parents are susceptible to this kind of crap in the school system. Like, why do they bite that hook, let it get in their cheek, and then they get dragged along 20 miles out into the middle of the ocean before they all start to wake up? Or it takes a sex scandal. Like, why do they believe this stuff? Are the parents so uneducated that a school they're not sure what that is? So let the school people figure out what a school is? Or, what is this?
Well, if you look at what Moms for Liberty, the things that Moms for Liberty tries to exploit, their issues of race and their issues of LGBTQ population. And so, unfortunately in this country, as we've learned over and over again, when you can attack on race, when you can adopt racism, as Moms for Liberty has, you're gonna create a lot of commotion and gather a following. And that's exactly what they've done. I remember when I first saw them arise and I noticed them in the first couple of months of their existence, I said, this is different than other groups I've followed. This is white backlash politics. And that's exactly what they're exploiting. That and the latent hatred that many people have of LGBTQ plus populations, which in itself, of course, is a terrible thing.
Well, it's very interesting to see how Moms for Liberty have differentiated themselves from other activist groups. They're not out saving whales. They're not out saving anything. They're saving people from an imaginary enemy. Grooming, there are going to be a lot of people hearing grooming, and they're going to think you're talking about their poodle. Like, talk about grooming or combing your hair. Yeah. We're not talking about that. There is an imagined thing going on. I've never heard of it. And I'm out everywhere, just like a lot of other people. Hell, I started the gay channel on Sirius XM 20 years ago. I'm in the middle of whatever's going on. I have never heard of grooming. Help us, Morris Cunningham, understand what grooming is so we can have a chuckle. Or vomit.
In the minds of Moms for Liberty, grooming is any adult who is teaching or offering comfort or offering empathy to the LGBTQ plus community. Any teacher who is teaching books with LGBTQ plus themes in it. It has not. It's absurd. Moms for Liberty makes it sound like these caring adults are out there, cultivating children in order to exploit them for sex. When, like the Trevor Project, like Free Mom Hugs, they're trying to keep these kids alive, show people that they love them, and allow them to have a thriving existence as they should, just as all of us should. And Moms for Liberty is trying to undermine that entirely. It is really appalling what they do.
Just as we conclude here, I always wonder, and this is sort of Bill Shakespeare, methinks the lady doth protest too much. We know that's not the actual line. We're all smarter than that, but that's the one that we all know of and respond to immediately. I used to wonder about DeSantis. Like, let's say I walked into a grocery store, Morris Cunningham, and I saw okra. And okra is a vegetable I don't care for. I'm going to admit it right here. I don't like okra. I'll eat broccoli. I'll eat anything. Okra, that's the line for me. So when I walk into the grocery store and I see it frozen in bags in the freezer case, I actually don't see it because it's not on my radar. Not interesting, not delicious, don't like it, don't see it, move along. If I suddenly pulled out a ball-peen hammer, smashed the glass on the freezer case, went and started pulling bags of frozen okra out, jumping up and down and screaming like Tom Cruise, I hate them. I really, really do. You, as an investigative reporter, as a professor, you would say, he must have a deep, deep connection with okra that we don't know about.
Well, certainly Bridget Ziegler has been proven to do. But, I wonder, assuming that Tiffany Justice and Tina Descovich are as straight as they purport to be, getting back to the issue of empathy, what if Bridget Ziegler had been able to say to them, you're my best friends. There's something I have to tell you about myself, Well, how about a little compassion toward Bridget, who couldn't do that? I don't find her the most deserving person of compassion, but, she couldn't go to her two friends and say, there's something I really need to talk to you about. There's something you don't know about me, and I need to talk to you about it. And she can't do that for the very kind of politics that she and Tiffany Justice and Tina Descovich are promoting. It's really terrible.
Well, and it also speaks to kind of the mastodon in the middle of the room, the one with the big tusks and the hair all over the place. And the mastodon in the middle of the room is that because these people have built an ISIS-like Sharia law, exciting world of limited movement, limited imagination, limited discussion, their normal human behavior, which all the people, Gore Vidal famously wrote, people get away with whatever they can. You'll never know, but whatever they can. And so they can't get away. They do whatever they do, but when they get caught, it looks 20 times worse than anybody else doing it because they're hypocrites now. Yeah. And you're running a movement and you're a hypocrite. Right? Yeah. And that's their future now, isn't it?
That's exactly right. They can't be themselves. They're not allowing other people to be themselves and develop on their own. And as you said, develop their own imagination, which is what we want students to do, is to find themselves. And they are trying to take that away from our children and really control what our children think, and what our children can even be exposed to. And that is all. As you say, 90% of parents understand that this is wrong. And that's why Moms for Liberty has been on the decline in recent months.
Well, I appreciate you so much coming on, Morris Cunningham, Dr. Morris Cunningham, author of Dark Money and the Politics of School Privatization, expert on right-wing parents' rights. Again, we put the word parents' rights in quotation marks, groups. He's retired from the University of Massachusetts at Boston as an associate professor of political science, continuing at his own peril, I'm sure, to research and write about dark money, because the people with dark money have lots of it, and they sure don't want people talking about it. It's the brave ones among us, the whistleblowers, the heroes that we may not know about, like Morris Cunningham, that are actually doing this research so that you and I can find out. His commentaries have appeared in the Detroit Free Press, the LA Progressive, Alternet, Counterpunch, Tampa Bay Times, many, many others, including the Progressive. You can check him out. You can Google him. And and it's spelt like Maurice, but pronounced like Morris. So you don't run afoul of insulting him by mistake. And I get an A+, Morris, don't you think?
You got it all right. Thanks, Cary. You were wonderful.
I did. Thank you so much, my friend. Very much appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
going to pause for just a second. Coming up, we're going to go to the phones, take your live calls about free speech, about book banning, about grooming, about hypocrisy, about dark money, or whatever is on your mind in this upside down world. It's Open Phones Friday, next on Rethinking Heroes at 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. Don't forget, you can watch us right now, living stream. Guess who's got dyslexia? Streaming live on video. Go to rethinkingheroes.com and you'll be able to watch this show, which makes us portable when you arrive in your car. 14 million people driving around in LA. When you get there, now you can get out and just take us with you on your phone and continue to watch. So I'm going to ask you to release your thoughts from the shadows, air them out in the sunlight through Open Phone Friday. The mic is always yours, my friend. When in doubt, dial out at 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK.
Listen while it's still legal.
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison. RethinkingHeroes.com.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? Do you have code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call our special home buying hotline right now. We specialize in buying any home, no matter the situation. Turn that problem property into cash today. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. We can buy your home with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there's no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. We're buying a few more homes in your neighborhood right now. We specialize in buying any home, no matter the situation. Turn that problem property into cash today. So take advantage of this cash offer and call the number on your screen today.
Looking to earn more money online? Well, meet Kartra, that's Kartra, the ultimate all-in-one business platform that makes it easier than ever to boost your income. With Kartra, creators, coaches, and experts can turn their knowledge and services into profits. You can create pages and funnels that attract customers, build memberships that share your knowledge, automate your business to free up your time, and so much more. Kartra has every tool you need to grow your business in one place. And the best part? It's super affordable and easy to use. Are you ready to streamline and scale? Well, head on over to rethinkingheroes.com/money for a free 30-day trial. That's rethinkingheroes.com/money for a free 30-day trial. So we'll just give that a second to reboot. Let's go right now to Randy from Hilton Head, South Carolina. Randy, you're on Rethinking Heroes.
It's Randolph.
Randolph.
I just wanted to call and say that people who have wealth aren't demons, okay? But the media, like yourself and the Democrats, they've been demonizing us, okay? It's not bad to have wealth. If you have a good education and you work hard, you become wealthy. Why be portrayed as some kind of monster? I mean, I ask you. Okay, maybe a little leery about giving to charities. Who wants to give all their hard-earned money to lazy people who don't work? Am I right? You're portraying us as beasts.
Let's just jump in here for a second and we'll detangle this a little bit. Nobody has any allergy against hard work. Nobody has any allergy against making as much money as you want to. If you want to support people lesser than you, you should do that. There is something called Noblesse, Oblige. And when this country was started, my ancestors, having helped having signed the Declaration of Independence and framed the Constitution, we believed in something called Noblesse, Oblige. And we got that from the French, who actually helped us have our revolution, taught us everything we would end up knowing. And Noblesse Oblige means you give back to those under you for two reasons. One, there's a very self-centered reason, which is if you don't let the pressure out of the pot underneath, in other words, if people are so poor, so starving, so crazy, they will revolt and they will take what you have. And you have something Randolph. And so the people under you, if they get too agitated, they will come and get you. Fact. So you do Noblesse Oblige, you give to some charities.
Well, yeah, I've heard about the French Revolution, and we don't want to have another one of those.
Well,
but again, you're talking about people who just don't want to work. Why not get a job? So, okay, maybe you didn't get the best education. Maybe you didn't work hard enough to get that scholarship. But come on,
Okay. So quick question. How many... If Sidney Poitier walks in, dressed in a Brooks Brothers suit, suave, debonair, and then one of your friends who might be a redneck, missing several bicuspids and other important teeth, only 4 strands of hair on the top of his head, and a large belly button with a sweat hole where the belly button would be, and possibly a pee stain on his crotch, you're going to hire
it right now.
You're going to hire him because you are probably afraid of a level playing field, aren't you? The idea of you having neighbors that don't look like you, talk like you, think like you, or come or were born from where you were, occupying the houses surrounding you, terrifies you because you're no longer important. You find out that the high level of cachet and the prominence that you have achieved is achievable by lesser people. And therefore, you're starting to believe that maybe it's not true that you're a superior creature. And Randy, what is it like to know that other people can do better than you?
It's Randolph.
Is it okay? Randolph.
It's Randolph.
Yes.
So you got the other guy's name right. It was spelled wrong. Listen, it boils down to if this country is run right, then the middle class is okay, and you can attain the middle class. It's fine.
One more toward the middle, I think, is the plan.
Again, if you don't want to work hard enough to be a millionaire, and then we come to the lazy people who just give up and they commit crime to fill their pockets. Okay. They're the ones who are making trouble for us millionaires. All right. They're the ones.
Identify a few for us because I know this audience needs to know who they are so we can see them coming. Give us some names that you know about, descriptions of ones that you actually know about. And what are you doing to fix that problem for them?
People that fill their pockets by selling crack on the street, by giving drugs to kids in schools. Come on. So again, it's just they take the easy route. They become rappers. They take and some of those guys become millionaires. And then you see the dream is there. You can have it. If you're willing to work.
Okay. So before we end, here you are in your house in your Hilton Head, South Carolina. Is that right?
Right.
And a very rich, because rich is good, rich and powerful. This rapper has made
nothing wrong with it.
$500 million, and he's going to buy a house bigger than yours next to you, and he's going to have big rapper parties. And isn't that fun? Can you help him buy that house? Can you talk to that realtor and maybe sign a line of credit? Help him get in there because he has shown you that he's got the same gumption that you do. Don't you want to have him and his rapper buddies pull up and just enjoy the life that maybe they never could have had before because they are now
this is the media twisting words around and creating a nice little yarn. I get it. You do
baby.
It.
Laying it out. What do you think?
So,
yes or no?
Hey, if anybody's having big, huge parties with the deep bass playing, hey, I'm calling the cops and I'm gonna report them. That's the bottom line. I don't care if they have $5 million or if they have $1 million or $1 billion. If they're making too much noise in the neighborhood, they're going to get called on.
Okay. So John Williams moves next door to you, former conductor of the Boston Pops.
I actually kind of like his music.
Of course. We all do. Everything from Jaws to Raiders, Star Wars, Lost in Space originally. An amazing, brilliant, talented guy. He decides to have a little quartet out in his backyard, and you're trying to watch football, and they're playing Mozart, and it's pretty loud. because the acoustics are good, and it is John Williams. Are you calling the cops?
See, this is you doing your thing. That's a nice little yarn you've spun there. I just trying to tell people there are people out there that
I want to know how you deal with noise
having
pollution.
money is not a crime. Okay.
Nobody said
We're
it
not
was.
demons. We're not monsters, for crying out loud. We're just millionaires. Billionaires.
Okay. Well, go enjoy it and make sure you hold on to every cent and don't share any of it, because then you'll have less. And if you have less, you're going to have less self-esteem. And I thank you for your call, my friend, Randy.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. Okay, Harold, hopefully you can hear me. There we go. That's you, isn't it? Harold. All right, we're going to put Harold back on hold. I think he's probably making a sandwich. I would have done the same thing if I had to wait that long. How about Jan in Chatsworth, who wants to talk about the climate?
Hi there.
Hi, Jan.
Hi. I wanted to make a comment.
Sure.
Okay. There's a lot to say about what you were talking about. I want to just mention one thing right now. This idea of climate change. That is a scam. That climate change nonsense. Actually, we know, many of us have studied that our government and others are geoengineering the weather. So you can never know if this is rain that's real or if the constant whatever is going on is being geoengineered. Now, what I want to say for people that don't believe that, it's all the chemicals in the sky and more, like direct energy weapons. If you get the book, Paradise Lost, The Great California Fire Chronicles by James W. Lee. It's very inexpensive. There are very good photographs of what was going on and how those fires up there were geoengineered.
So I'm going to jump in, Jan. I don't necessarily disagree with you here. And we have spent many hours on this station talking about geoengineering 20 years ago, before there was even an official name. It is a real name. It is a real name from the Department of Energy. It's a real name from the federal government. And there is geoengineering. The original idea was to slow climate change, global warming as it used to be called, by aerosolizing the atmosphere with metallic particles that were pretty microscopic, but that would reflect the sun's light back up, thereby not allowing the heating of the atmosphere. It turns out, however, it created an inadvertent blanket that trapped the heat underneath and actually exacerbated climate change, which is real. And I can tell you, spending a bit of time in Florida, Miami now at high tide, the sidewalks are underwater. The first floor on most buildings are elevated up to the second floor. It is so real. It is so catastrophic that in Switzerland, ski resorts that have been around forever are now hiking resorts because they no longer get snow. Glaciers have melted a mile in the last 5 years. A mile is a lot in a country that only holds 8 million people and is the size of Rhode Island. So this stuff is very real. The northern continent, the northern shelf up near Alaska and the North Pole has split and cracked. There's now a new passageway for ships. The glaciers are melting. The polar bears are dying. It is so real. It is so real. Unfortunately, Al Gore was right. He did not invent the internet, but he did tell us something in advance. And yes, geoengineering was the solution. They're still doing it. Guess why? Not for the reasons you and I would think. They're doing it because once you start a government project that's military connected, there's a ton of money in it, and it keeps getting funded and it keeps going up. So you never kill a golden goose. You keep flying these things till the cows come home. And here we are now learning about it. States, I think Tennessee has banned it, and others are talking about it publicly. So we're going to hear more about it. And I love it. And I think there's a whole show in it.
We are in complete control. We are
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison. RethinkingHeroes.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Looking to earn more money online? Well, meet Kartra, that's Kartra, the ultimate all-in-one business platform that makes it easier than ever to boost your income. With Kartra, creators, coaches, and experts can turn their knowledge and services into profits. You can create pages and funnels that attract customers, build memberships that share your knowledge, automate your business to free up your time, and so much more. Kartra has every tool you need to grow your business in one place. And the best part? It's super affordable and easy to use. Are you ready to streamline and scale? Well, head on over to rethinkingheroes.com/money for a free 30-day trial. That's rethinkingheroes.com/money for a free 30-day trial.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel